question, or did you want to say anything?
No, I don't.
Has the Planning Commission approved the final draft of the comprehensive plan or just recommended it to City Council to approve or adopt it?
It is a recommendation. We have a chance to have input, you know, individually, but it all has to be agreed to by the rest of the council. So, yeah.
Question about a new citizen task force. It'll be the second one, of course. When can we start selecting members for a new citizens task force to finish the unfinished waterfront park? And what would the process be for selecting members, citizen members of that task force?
Well, you know, the Planning Commission has changed a lot since Al Riator was there. The last process for the comprehensive plan was we had 3 task forces. We had forces. There was one in the North District. I served on one in the Central District, and there were about 25 or 30 people on each one. When I questioned our new director of, and of course there was one in the South District, and then they came together as a full planning body, utilizing the information from each of the 3 districts. That process has changed. Now, I think there were maybe 4 or 5 people from the North District, same thing from Central. So the whole task force was not any larger than, say, 25 or 30 people. And they, when Mr. Woodbury was here as a city manager, they hardly met at all. In fact, they came up with a plan, and he asked for a copy of it and then proceeded to change a lot of the things in it. He was our city manager before this city manager. And so it became, and then they did not have the task force meet that often. So the whole process of planning for the city changed with this comprehensive plan. It's a whole new model, according to Sheila McAllister, who is the planning director now. It's what they do across the country. This is the new way of doing planning. Did you understand that?
I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with it either, but...
And I think most cities involve citizens to a great extent in their planning, and it's a huge mistake not to do that.
I agree, and I think you ought to speak to that too, because that means this plan was done by, not like when I was on that commission, on that task force, if you will. There were way over 100 or 150 people who came up with, you know, representing our constituency. This little group, you know, as I said, first of all, Mr. Bury made sure they didn't meet, and when they did and came up with something, what they came up with was the opinions of just a few people. And that's not right. I did not agree with this, and I do not agree with this new way of planning for a city of this size. You know, 30 people should not be doing the plan for the whole city. So I think you ought to speak to that too, because how many of you felt represented there?
My sister was on it.
You what?
My sister was on it.
You felt represented. Well, good for you. So, you know, but I think the common sense says that we need to be better represented on that, more citizens. And the more citizens who are involved, the better city that we will have. That's the whole bottom line. The more of you who are involved, we're going to have a better city. So.
Do you want to add to that, Dave?
I agree that the more people who are involved in planning, the better that planning is. We need to listen to all of the voices in our city, and we need to build a consensus for where we need to move forward. It should not be planning in secret by a small group of people. That being said, if we're not doing things well now, I look forward to working with Pat and seeing how we can make things better.
Great. Another question, when will the CIP have a line focused on the unfinished parks, the City Farm waterfront? And why is there no line there in the CIP? The CIP is the, somebody explains that.
Capital improvement plan, yeah. Capital. That's the capital improvement plan, and it's usually a 5-year plan for the future, and say the park ought to be in it now, but it's not in the next 5 years. We can change that every year when we listen and we read and vote on the CIP, the next CIP, all the capital projects that we have in the works now. And of course, you know, schools is part of that. They have a part of the budget. They have their own CIP. And then there's the operating budget that's where we operate the city. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, things were a little dicey because there was some over prediction of revenue and under prediction, or overspending and an over prediction that we would get that money back. So we have been stressed for the last couple of years, I have to tell you. But I think we're in a good position. We have a wonderful person, Lisa Cipriano. They don't come any better than that. And I mean, she is fine. She's our person in charge of all the money, and she is wonderful. Her whole department is. So I have absolute confidence, and we have to request that, and you can request that it go into the CIP now.
Is that something City Council could request, or
yes,
City Council person?
Yes, and I can request that, but it's good to hear from you that we want that in the plan. Now, having said that, I am going to also say that I think it would be a great idea if you all started a foundation where people could make contributions. Riverview Park Foundation. Get in some of these wills of these people who've got a lot of money. You know, and I think that's a good idea, even if it's not a lot. If people will give something, that's showing interest. You know, as I said to somebody who was running this last time, you know, if you don't invest in yourself, why should you think somebody else should invest in you? You know, that's why you make a contribution to your own campaign, because you have confidence in yourself. So it's very important that we have a revenue source that would be there to do some extras. It doesn't mean that you have to do everything, but I would think that it would be something that you would need to have, you know, available for people who really care about parks and recreation and be able to make a contribution to. I'll give you 25 at least.
We got that on tape.
I'll also make a contribution.
All right.
I think it is important for you to step up and begin building a financial base with a foundation. I think that will pay dividends for you in the long run in getting this to be the kind of park that Newport News needs. At the same time, I realize that money is tight for a lot of families here, and give what you can, you know. But I think it shows that there is a commitment to people when people are willing to give some money and not just their time. When we consider the capital improvement plan, I would like to see some money put in for the park. I think that there hasn't been a lot of excitement there because of some of the cash flow shortages that we've had, but also because there hasn't been the will in the City Council to move this project forward. We need to work to change that attitude, to get people on board with this project, and then I think you will see the kind of funding from the city that we will be able to provide.
Wonderful. You know, you could start out with just, all we need is a couple of trails and maybe a ranger there a little bit. It wouldn't have to be millions of dollars to start out with.
No. And the other thing is, planning department, I'm sure, will have funds that they've already expended some for planning. You know, everybody says we want this process. Well, that's an excuse. That's to avoid things. You know, that isn't, it really doesn't. Process is about doing something, and that's an excuse to put it off. But I know that planning will have to put some money into, the planning department will have to put it in there. So, or we'll have some funds whenever they engage with the American Planning Association. I think that is, they've already designated 25,000, is it?
I don't know, but it's called a community planning action team that they do. They bring in people from all over the country, and they do meet with the public and everything.
Right, right. But there is some funding that has already been put in for that process.
Thank you. Why isn't the city farmland considered as a resource protected area or a resource management area of the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act as per the comprehensive plan?
Go for it.
I don't know. But I'll look into it. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and that is a very vibrant group, and we do work with them as a city. I don't think we've had the other people that we have not had in on this, and I've tried to get them involved, are the environment of the Sierra Club.
The Sierra Club has been somewhat involved. Anybody here from Sierra Club? Okay.
Yeah, they have been somewhat, but I think that we need to engage them even more. They have a powerful lobby at the state level, and I know they interviewed every one of our candidates this time. So, and they endorse. So, I think that we ought to get them, everybody we can. You know.
So those of you from Sierra Club, if you'll talk to one of us and let's make some plans to coordinate. If the archaeological dig finds evidence of Worktown at City Farm, would the city be willing to make this a National Historic Site park?
I think it already is.
Is
It's already designated, is it not?
if it's designated as a historic site, why is there any question of developing it?
Well, they wouldn't be developing the area of Warwicktown, I don't think. It would be the other area, the other part of the 50 acres.
I say that sounds a little sketchy, but
That's what politicians are like.
you two aren't sketchy though, right? Okay. Have the city council, this is questions from the public here, have the city council members been to the park, including the boardwalk to the water?
I have,
Have the others?
not that I know of.
Could you guys invite them to come out and see the beautiful place that we have?
I would love it, and I think you all ought to ask them and tell them that they need to come. I've said it over and over, about the photographers that are out there on that beautiful walk. The other thing that I think will happen is when we start taking tours of this archaeological dig, and that's when we will see, the rest of council go out there. They'll probably do one that's just for council.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're not interested enough to come here to talk to us. What makes you think that if we invite them, they'd be interested enough to come take a walk through the park?
You're right. Absolutely.
We did invite all the city councilors, didn't we, or we told them about this meeting. Is that true, Adrian? Did we inform all the city council members that we were having this meeting?
Well, the purpose of the meeting was to support the park.
Right.
So I informed the ones that had expressed interest in the park.
All right.
I know there was, some of the others had heard about it. It was in the newspaper too, of course.
Right.
But I will say again, because it is National Night Out, and I think just about all the council people are going to those meetings, as many as they could.
All right, thank you. Another question from the public. How might the public be able to access the city farm so that they can actually appreciate the resource we're fighting for? And you did say associated with the archaeological dig, but we would hope that they could see the view from the water. And
well, as I always tell people, you got to start with baby steps, and baby steps is looking at the archaeological dig. Then I think that our city manager would be open to making bigger tours. Right now, there's equipment there that they are afraid that somebody would be hurt if they got in that section. So that's...
Can't you just have one park ranger or one policeman there for a couple hours?
Well, we can try. I will bring it. I am meeting with the city manager on Monday. I'll bring it to her attention and see what I can get.
Thank you. Do you want to comment?
Actually, I think Pat did a great job of answering that question, but I did want to go back to the one before about city council members not being at this meeting. I know that Riverview Farm Park is an important issue to Central Newport News. And an issue to the whole city.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we do have 3 different districts. And there are some issues in Southern Newport News that frankly I am not as up on as I should be. There are some issues in the northern part of Newport News that I am not as up on as I should be. I feel that's kind of what happens sometimes with the council members. But I'll tell you, this is one city. And one of the reasons we have a city council is to work together. And I don't have to be up on everything in Southern Newport News because they've got some folks sitting there that are going to help inform me of what's going on. And I intend to inform them of what's going on here in Central Newport News. And if we're going to make this one city and work together, everybody's priorities need to be brought to the table and addressed and cared for.
Thank you. One city, one future.
When I ran in 2008, that was where that one city came from. But anyway, I want to say that we are the Central District is the only district that does not have a town hall place. You've got the new community center in the north. The south has 3. Dory Miller, Achievable Dream. Midtown is in the South District. We have nothing. And nobody ever says anything about it. I have said something about it. Because the city farm could be a place where we had a community center if we could get the support for it.
Okay, next question. And this assumes we're not immediately successful in our goals. What is the procedure for a referendum if Riverview Farm is not fully designated as a park? And I think there is an issue with the state on referenda, isn't there?
We are a Dillon state. And what that means is that we cannot do, we could do a referendum, just your opinion, that kind of thing, without the state's permission, but we cannot do an official referendum without the state's approval.
How would we get such an approval?
We would, as a council, ask our, yeah, there you go. And you could put pressure on your legislators at the state,
okay,
and your senators and your representative to put pressure on them to introduce it and allow us to have a referendum. But it would have to come, the permission would have to come from the
so
state.
we could speak with Yancey, who says he supports the idea.
Yeah.
So.
And also Mike Mullen and what's his name? Mason, yeah.
Okay.
All of them.
I'm hoping it doesn't come to that. I'm hoping that we can work things out without having to worry about a referendum. If we go to the state or need to go to the state, I'll support that. But the state legislature deals with so many issues right now. They have a lot on their plate. This is a huge issue for us down here in Newport News. I know we'll have the support of our local legislators, but getting it through the General Assembly is going to be a challenge for them, and I'm hoping we don't have to go there.
Thank you. After more than 2 years of public disapproval in regards to developing Riverview Farm Park, why has council not agreed to keep Riverview Farm Park? I think we've kind of already covered that. Please don't cite the pending results of the archaeological study or talk about process. Where does City Council stand and why? Have we answered that?
I think so.
I think we've answered that. Is that okay, whoever wrote that one? Why have you, the city, not voted to complete the park plan? And that is the question. And yes, you've addressed that, and we still wonder. I love this one. Can we sing our new song in city council chambers on August 14th? Can we? Is there a way to arrange that? Who would we ask?
Yeah, you would only have 3 minutes, right? I guess the mayor, he is part of the planning on the agenda, so you would have to get it on the agenda.
Okay. Anybody in good with the mayor?
I'm not. Could you do it during the comment period?
We could just launch into song, I guess.
May I say one thing about that? When you come down, you will be asked, well, since you're all here to talk about the park, let's just let 1 or 2 people speak.
No
Don't
way.
do that. Say, and I have stopped it before and said, I want to hear every single person.
Thank you.
And I do. And we all should. So don't go for that, because you'll be asked not to everybody speak, but I think everybody should speak. Even as you just give your name and say you support it.
And please do speak. It's even if you're scared, it doesn't matter. I mean, when you hear one of us that have spoken a million times, you go, "Oh God, it's him again." But when you hear somebody that's maybe nervous and it's their first time, that probably has a bigger impact, doesn't it?
I think so.
So don't be scared. Just do it.